Just because estudyante pa ako, doesn't mean I can't go off chasing my dreams.
Just because kasal na kami, doesn't mean we can't embark on a new journey.
Just because single parent ako, doesn't mean I can't go off on adventures.
Just because may edad na ako, doesn't mean I can't look for new experiences.
Just because single ako, doesn't mean I'm lonely.
And just because I'm on a budget, doesn't mean I can't experience the finer things in life.
That's why at AirAsia, we believe that when it comes to your dreams, no one should settle for anything less than what they deserve. That's why even if you pay less, doesn't mean it has to be less convenient. It doesn't mean you get less comfort. It doesn't mean you can't be treated like a VIP. Because whatever the price, getting you to your dreams shouldn't feel anything less than a luxury. AirAsia, the world's best low-cost airline.
Building a home for your family in the Philippines? Get connected with the right partner. Your house and lot, condominium, home improvement, and loan takeout is made easy with PNB's OPHL. It's available at PNB LA, New York, Tokyo, Nagoya, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Middle East. OPHL allows borrowers to pay in local currency without remittance fees. No co-borrower required. Qualified borrowers must also have good credit standing, stable employment, and sufficient disposable income. Loan up to 80% of the property value and enjoy easy payment terms. Visit the nearest PNB branch to apply today.
Welcome to the Academy, your training hub for entrepreneurship in this new digital economy. People from all walks of life, students, professionals, and online entrepreneurs, direct sellers, online dropshippers are now looking for innovative ways and means to maximize the power of this new digital economy and learn from home and earn from home as well. Remember that there are 3 critical success factors for you to be successful in this new digital economy. Number 1 is your entrepreneurial mindset. Number 2, your entrepreneurial mastery. And number 3 is your entrepreneurial management. 3 questions that you have to ask yourself. What are you passionate about? Number 2, what are the relative skills that you have in this new economy? And number 3, what do you think are the expectations of your partners or your clients or your customers? We at the Academy offer you valuable masterclass courses that will develop you and hone you to become a champion entrepreneur online. We want you to become a digital brand in this new economy. So click the link below and learn more about the 4 masterclass courses that we offer in entrepreneurship, in entrepreneurial management, digital entrepreneurship, and digital selling. So again, I'm your coach, Jonathan Petalver of the Academy, your training hub for entrepreneurship in this new digital economy. Welcome and see you in class. All right, again, this is your coach, Jonathan of the Academy, your training hub for entrepreneurship, and welcome to Season 4. So congratulations, everyone, after a week long or 2 weeks, after that Season 3, the success of Season 3, we are now launching again another 8 weeks, every Saturday, 9 to 10 p.m. here in the Philippines or in Asia. And of course, for this very special season, we will be streaming live from Connecticut with our partner, Gary Smith from the East Coast. So good morning, everyone, to all our kababayans and Filipinos, Filipino-Americans, our friends and colleagues. Welcome to Season 4 of ChampYunKa. You are the champion. So we are going to start with our very interesting topic for today. But before that, I'd like to, of course, greet our kababayans a very pleasant Saturday morning there in the East Coast. It's 9 a.m. and of course a very early morning in the West Coast, no, sa California, in California, and of course to our kababayans also in Canada. But before we start our session today and introduce to you our not a special guest because he will be with us in the next 8 sessions. I'd like to thank again our partner advocates for supporting us, for always, like assisting us. We have SMDC, of course. We have the Academy. We have Gary Smith, no, the company, and of course we have Smart Asset Managers from Australia. We have SFIO from New Zealand. Of course, we have AirAsia Philippines and the Philippine National Bank. So greetings to our friends and partner advocates, and we hope you will support us all the way until such time we have, we can really bring you a very special session, which we call the Entrepreneurial LeaderShift Series with Gary Smith. It's very, very important that we unleash that leadership in us. That's why it's called leadership, time to shift to become entrepreneurial leaders. So before I call in our very special mentor in the next 8 weeks, so sit back, relax, get your pen and paper. So to give a short intro of our mentor in the next 8 weeks, let's watch this. All right. So without further ado, my dear friends, I'd like to introduce our mentor in the next 8 weeks, a very good friend, Gary Smith. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, Coach Jonathan. So good to see you this morning, my friend.
How are you? How are you, Gary? So at least, we were able to, after the long wait, we are able now to launch our season 4 of ChampYunKa, but it's very, very special because we are now going to talk about this entrepreneurial leadership awareness. Our topic today is about the mindset, Gary. But before that, would you like to greet your students or followers? And so we can start our discussion for this morning.
Very, very good. I'm pleased to have all of you with us this morning and looking forward not only to being able to talk with you about the whole leadership mindset, but also hopefully we'll get some good questions and comments that we can talk about. I really want this to be a very interactive session so that we can enjoy each other, get to know each other, and really looking forward to it. Just to give you a very, very quick background on me, I've been in the business world for a little over 45 years. I started off as an engineer and worked my way up through the ranks in engineering for about 12 years until I was leading engineering organizations. And then I jumped over to the operations side of businesses and was running companies for other people for about 13 years. And then 23 years ago, I started my own business. And as you saw by the little video, I'm a business consultant, a business and personal coach. I'm a financial coach, an author, a professional speaker. I've been doing that for 23 years. And so I'm just delighted to be here and have the opportunity to share with each and every one of you.
Correct. Yeah. So let's start the ball rolling, Gary. And we have some friends watching right now from New Zealand, from from Australia, Filipinos watching from North America and even Asia as well. So, Gary, my first question is about, of course, this is always a question of how does one really, is there such a formula to change one's mindset? Is there really a formula to change one's mindset, Gary?
Yeah, there really is. But I think before we deal with that question, I think we need to get very, very fundamental with what we're doing. And I sort of plan to break our discussion up into 3 basic chunks today, Jonathan. One is to start looking at exactly what mindset is. I think it's important for us to all get on the same page and be facing in the same direction before we really dig into the meat of things. Second is examining the impact that your mindset has not only on you, but on others, and how we can go about changing that mindset, which gets to the question you just asked. And then third is talking about the 4 critical aspects of the entrepreneurial mindset. So if we can, let's just start and talk about mindset. What is it? Because I think a lot of times what happens is that we think we're so sophisticated, we're so esoteric because we look at words like mindset and paradigm and things like that. And yet, how much of the time do we really take the time to boil them down and get to the basics? I mean, what is mindset? Mindset is nothing more than a way of thinking. And the way I look at it is to flip the word around. And rather than saying mindset, say set mind. It's the set of your mind. It's how, initially anyway, it's how we think about and how we view ourselves. It's your current reality. Now, notice in saying that, I didn't say it's the truth. Much of the time, the mindsets that we have are mainly false, but it's merely what you believe to be true at this point in time in your life. So fundamentally, mindset is how you see yourself. Do you see yourself as successful or as a failure? Do you see yourself as worthy or unworthy, capable or incompetent, a leader or a follower? And each one of those things is on a sliding scale, and we get to determine where on that scale we place ourselves. So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about what is the impact of our mindset, because that's crucial if you're going to be an entrepreneur. Not only does our mindset control how we see ourselves, but it also determines how we see other things in the world, things like success, things like our future. Our view of the world also changes as our mindset changes. And let me give you an example of that. When I first graduated from college and started working as an engineer, my goal was to climb the ladder of success and make a lot of money. And I found out, thank goodness, early on that making money is a lousy goal. It really is. And it's really interesting because about 10 years ago, I had an interview, and the gentleman who was interviewing me said, I want to ask you a question and I want a 1-word answer. And he said, what is it that you want your life to stand for? Mm-hmm. And I gave him 1 word: impact. I want to have an impact. And he said, in looking at that, he said, well, gee, what about making money? And I said, you know what I've learned? If you focus on making money, you may be able to make money, but the chances of you leading a fulfilled life go down dramatically. But if you focus on impact, you'll have both. Mm-hmm. And that's what has really become a focus. So it determines how we see ourselves, how we see our future. Our mindset also determines how others see us. Our mindset shows up in things like the words we say, how we treat others, our body language. A number of years ago, I consulted with a company, and I was hired by the president of the organization. And he said, you have a presence. When you walk into a room, people know the leader has arrived. He said they look up to you because they need both clarity and direction, and they know they're going to get that from you. And my whole point there is not to brag on myself. My whole point is to say that you can't hide your mindset. It leaks out all over others. And so your mindset not only affects you, it affects how others see you. And ultimately, too, and I think this is really critical if you're going to be an entrepreneurial leader, your mindset also determines how you view others. It's a filter, if you will, through which we view and interact with our world. So for those of you who are either leaders now or want to be leaders in other business areas, what is your LeaderShift mindset? And in order to be able to really understand and explore that a little bit, we need to back away and realize that the vast majority of people, myself included, when I got out of college and started working, I didn't go into a senior management position in an organization. I started out at the bottom, as a junior engineer, and I had to work my way up from there. Well, when you initially start out in business, you're an individual contributor. So that begs the question, where do managers come from? Well, managers come from individual contributors who have done an outstanding job and they get promoted. The challenge with that is that when they get promoted, nobody teaches them how to transition their mindset from being an individual contributor to managing people who are individual contribitors. And so I think there's a fundamental shift in our mindset that we need to take, because when you go through that transition, when you are one day an individual contributor and the next day you're a manager, what happens is that you learn to look at leadership through the lens of leadership is about being in control. And nothing could be further from the truth. But we need to go through that LeaderShift mindset transition to say, leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in our charge. And a good quick example of that would be, let's say that I'm a leader in an organization and I have a sales manager working for me. And he's been a long-term employee of the company, maybe 15, 20 years. And up until the last year or so, he's been a very, very good, solid performer. But for the last 3 quarters, he's missed his numbers fairly substantially. If my leadership mindset is one of leadership is about being in charge, I might walk into his office and say, Harry, you've missed your numbers for the last 3 quarters. If this performance continues, I can't guarantee what's going to happen. Well, if I take that kind of an approach, is Harry going to be excited to come to work tomorrow and try to work to turn around his numbers? Or is he going to be out looking for another job because he's afraid he's going to lose this one?
Correct.
But if I have the leadership mindset that says I'm responsible for taking care of others, I might walk into Harry's office and say, Harry, you've missed your numbers for the last 3 quarters. I'm worried about you. What's going on? Talk to me. I want to help. Because for all I know, he may be going through a divorce. He may have financial struggles. He may have a child who's drug addicted. I don't know. But I can't help him until I get a level of understanding. So when we think about things like that, and we think about the impact, can people see? I hope our students can see how your mindset is a major controlling aspect in your life. So that begs the question then, how do we change it? Well, it starts with a decision. It starts with a decision to make the change and to become the people that we need to be. And then from there, we need to dig deep to uncover our limiting beliefs and change them into beliefs that serve us. And I know this is a little bit premature, but I'm going to throw out a teaser to everybody, because as we go through this 8-week program, we're going to deal with one entire session simply on how to go about changing things in our lives, how to go about changing the way we think about things. And it's a detailed process, but once you get into it, it's pretty simple and pretty exciting.
Correct. But you know what, Gary, like for instance, here in Asia, right? Or specifically for people, because our series, by the way, my dear friends, is all about Entrepreneurial LeaderShift Series. But of course, right now we're tackling about mindset, because at the end of the day, the mindset, as what Gary mentioned, it really triggers everything. It's where you set your mind. It's how you see yourself. But how about my question, Gary, and then we'll pause for a break for the meantime, is like for instance, amidst this pandemic, like people sees no hope at all, and then of course there are a lot of opportunities being presented to them, but it seems like they cannot get out of where they are right now. What's the best mindset that we can give them? I mean, is there something that we can tell them that this is where you should set your mind, and then the minute you wake up, this is something you have to set your mind? But before that, Gary, we will answer that as soon as we write back. Let's thank our sponsors for the meantime. So we will see them here at ChampYunKa Season 4 with Gary Smith. Good morning, everyone. right, again, it's Coach Jonathan. You're watching the first episode of Season 4, and we are privileged because we are with Gary Smith, and he will be our mentor, our coach in the next 8 sessions. And right now, we are starting mindset, right? I've learned a lot. In the last few minutes, I learned that mindset is the key. As Gary Smith mentioned, mindset is a way of thinking, and mindset is how you see yourself, right? And most especially, you have to make a decision. Interestingly, I was asking Gary, amidst this pandemic, amidst all the challenges, we are battling one COVID, one variant at a time, and maybe some of us are, losing hope. Well, I think it's high time that we listen to Gary, because he will teach us, he will give us practical tips on how we will move from one level to another level, and stay hopeful. That amidst this pandemic, there are things that we can do, and most of which is we have to change, or we have to set our minds on where we want to see ourselves in the future, or in the near future. So with us again is Gary Smith. Gary?
Hey, Jonathan. And, it's interesting because I think the whole pandemic has highlighted some things for us to consider. And as we talk about mindset, I think it's really, really important is even outside of the pandemic and all of the situations that it's created, as individuals, do we see this world as a world of limitations, or do we see it as a world of abundance, of opportunity? So are we, when we get the storm like the pandemic, are we looking at the cloud, or are we looking for the silver lining of the cloud, in realizing that in every economy, in every situation, no matter what happens, there are opportunities if we will but think about them and learn to create them. I know I've worked with a number of people over the last year and a half who have been furloughed from their jobs. And they're sitting back and saying, gee, what do I do? And some of them are very much, woe is me. I'm going to have to go on government assistance to be able to get to where I want to be. But other people have learned to take stock of where they are. And as you were talking about in your introductory video, Jonathan, what are your passions? What are you really passionate about in life? What skill sets do you have that you can utilize, and how do you combine your passions and skills to be able to add value to the world, to the sphere of influence that you're in a way that you can be compensated for it? And so it's really reframing the way we think and becoming a possibility thinker, to say there is a way through this. There are things that we can do. It may not be easy, but nothing in life that's worth having is easy. You have to work for it.
Correct, Gary. Yeah, but is it okay, as you mentioned, is it okay that people would have both short-term and long-term goals to set their minds? Because nowadays, what I saw now, even when I'm coaching, right, when we are coaching, people would like to have an immediate result. As you mentioned about impact, right? And people nowadays would like to see an immediate result. Is it good, or is it not good at all? That you set your mind on things that immediately you can see results for you to go on and move forward.
I think it's critical to do both. I would say in that situation, you want to be in a situation where you have short-term goals, but you have a long-term mindset. A number of years ago, a gentleman named Ellie Goldratt wrote a book called The Goal. And in it, he said, what is the goal of every business? And the book is written as a story. And he says, what is the goal of every business? And the person he was talking to in the book said, well, the goal of every business is to make money. And Ellie said, is that all? And he said, well, what else is there? And he said, no, the goal of every business is to make money both now and in the future. And he said, the reason I say that is because if you are strictly focused on the short term, you may never get to the long term. But if you're strictly focused on the long term, you may never get to the long term because you kill yourself in the short term. So I think it's important to have both. I think it's important, certainly, people need to be focused in the pandemic. They need to be focused on short-term results in order to be able to build the self-confidence and build the income and stuff that they need. But it needs to be done with a long-term vision.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why our series, my dear friends, is all about leadership, shifting to become leaders, but more so becoming entrepreneurial leaders. Because sometimes it's so easy for people to say, oh, this pandemic, will just, this will end somehow, because they have that income, right? That passive income that's coming in. But sometimes, let's face it, you are sometimes affected if you are financially draining, right? That's why we hope and pray this series, right? The next 8 sessions that we will be learning from each other, especially Gary Smith guiding us on this season. We will all learn how to like reset, reboot, and reprogram, and take 2 steps backward, and still have that kind of mindset, right? It's more of mind conditioning that amidst all this pandemic, there's that leadership that has to be birthed in us, right, Gary?
Absolutely. And I think the other thing that plays into this, Jonathan, is that we need to think about ownership. You have to own your problems before you have any hope of being able to solve them. A number of years ago, when I was an engineering manager, I had one of my project engineers come into my office and he said, Gary, we have a problem. And I said, no, we don't have a problem. And he said, yeah, we do. We have a problem. I said, no, I don't have a problem. You have a problem.
You have a problem.
And he said, okay. And I said, first step to solving a problem, own it. And he said, okay. And I said, so what's your problem? And he told me. And I said, okay, what do you want to do about it? And he said, well, I don't know. That's why I'm here. And I said, no, that's not how this works. Go back and think about it and come back and see me when you have some ideas. And he came back a couple of hours later and came in and said, Gary, I have a problem. And I said, okay, wonderful. You have a problem. What's your problem? And he told me, and I said, what do you think? And he said, well, I've looked at these 3 things. Here's 3 things that I could do to solve this problem. I said, okay, which one do you want? And he said, well, I want this one because, and he told me why. And I said, okay, what are you doing standing here? Go do it. You've got it. But it all started with him being willing to own the situation. And no matter, I think when we get into a pandemic, I mean, it's a global thing that's affecting everybody. Our tendency is to sit back and blame others for our own set of circumstances rather than saying, you know what, yes, maybe I didn't create it, but I still have to accept responsibility for my own life and my own situation.
Correct. Because at the end of the day, sometimes when you think that, you will lose the game or you will not make it, well, congratulations, you will really lose the game and you will not win, because that's your mindset. Yeah, we have Hiroki Kazato from Japan, Gary, and what's your take on this? You're saying, thank you for your valuable coaching. Thank you, Hiroki. Positive mind with meditation is my way.
I think that I think we can approach that in a couple of different ways. I mean, obviously, positive mind. I mean, one of the things that I try to do every day when I roll out of bed is look at the day as an adventure to be enjoyed and life to be lived to the fullest. So it's creating that attitude of gratitude and expectancy, which brings the positive. But I also think that meditation is important from the standpoint. And everybody does meditation in different ways. For me, it's meditating on the Word of God. It's reading Scripture every day and taking the time to think about what's going on and to ask God for guidance and interpretation of what it is that I'm reading. So that's how I view meditation. But I think all of those things are positive things where the Holy Spirit has an opportunity to speak into our lives. And we realize in those situations that we're not alone. And when you're not alone, when you have a partner walking beside you, it makes life not only easier, it makes it more enjoyable.
Correct. So with us, Gary, we have a live, not audience, but she will be joining us. And quickly, maybe, she could ask you, or maybe she could share how mindset changed her and, into becoming an entrepreneur, and, become successful. So with us, my dear friends, is Mai Castillo. Mai, would you like to join us?
Yes, hi,
Hello.
hi, good morning. Yes, hi, coach. Good morning.
Good morning, Mai.
Right, yes, hi. Hi, Gary. Good morning as well. And to
Oh,
all our viewers, good morning, everyone.
good morning, Mai. So good to see you this morning.
So
Yes,
yeah, yeah,
likewise.
Mai. So yeah, Gary was telling about it's where you set your mind. Can you tell us a brief, your testimony or your experience that when you change your mind, it really helps you, and yeah, and success is just within your reach because you change your mind or you have a great mindset in that case, Mai.
Right. Yes, this is a very interesting topic, coach. Yes, but before everything else, yes, my name is Mike Castillo from SMBC, one of the associate sales director and a real estate broker from the Philippines. So yeah, going back to the question, having actually a a proper mindset is very very essential, especially right now with all the uncertainties going around, with what we are going through. All industries are affected. We're just very actually thankful that we're still keep going. So this is just a very a personal experience, probably coach and coach Jonathan and Gary, that it was just recently, well, I was able to I was kind of actually gi- like losing hope, because we're actually like going back and forth to ECQ. It means that we're on a lockdown again, so our business again is very much affected. But having that mindset of being positive despite of what is happening around. Luckily and fortunately, by the grace of God, I was still able to close some deals.
Mm,
Yeah,
Wonderful.
that is very God's blessing. So as long as you put your heart in it, you focus your mind, everything else follows.
correct. Correct, Gary. Right? I mean, if you really start your day with, I should not say the right mindset, because at the end of the day, Filipinos, Gary, they will always say that, oh, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. It's like they're declaring that, as they start the day, wrong side of the bed means, I'm not feeling well, I'm so moody. Well, again, congratulations. That will trigger your whole day. So at the end of the day, whether you're feeling sick or something, you stand up, of course, you pray and all, and you declare and say that I am blessed, I am strong today, even though you are not, then is there an effect on that, Gary? Just like what Mai mentioned, that it's life is hard, but when she started, or selling is hard right now, especially real estate, for instance. But when she tell herself that, I will draw the right people and then someone will buy from me, then it happened. What's your take on that, Gary?
I think that our attitude and our expectancy has everything to do with it. Yeah, and it's funny because you're talking about people getting up on the wrong side of the bed. I've told people before. So if you got up on the wrong side of the bed, go back to bed and get out on the other side. And it,
Correct.
and it really that simple. It's really changing your mind to have that attitude of expectancy. And
Correct.
I believe in many cases that we do get what we expect.
Hmm.
If Mai goes into a potential sales situation and she has not an egotistical approach to it, but the
Hmm.
attitude that, hey, I'm going to do my best, I'm expecting that I'm going to make this sale, she has an infinitely greater chance of closing that sale than if she goes in with a mindset that says, they're probably not going to buy. So
Correct.
it's
Then they won't. Then they
you know,
won't.
so mindset has a lot to do with it, because as I said earlier in the training, mindset is not just about how we see each other or how we see ourselves, rather. It's about how others see us, because your
Yes.
mindset and your body language and the things that you say and the way that you act is going to leak out all over the people around you. And that really
Correct.
affects how they deal with you. And do they see you as being a self-confident person who is capable of doing the things that they need to have done?
Correct. And when you show people that you are the answer that they're looking for, then you are the answer that they're looking for. Mai, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing with us, and we hope to see you again. And we will pray for more sales, right, Gary?
Amen.
For you, and may you influence your people or your team members to think and feel and act just like how you do things. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Mai.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome. Go have an impact.
Gary, we have an interesting question here. Let me read that for you. Okay, Gary, we have students, I must say, or we have some audience coming from Sudan, right? We have people from people watching from, let's say, UAE. Thank you, Rayanne. Thank you, sir, for watching. Magandang hapon sa inyo dyan. It's afternoon right now. Gary in UAE. There you go. RC Francisco is watching from Sudan. And then we have Nelvin Villahermosa. And of course, Hiroki Kasato watching from Tokyo. Wow. Thank you so much. Hiroki mentioned Mr. Smith and Coach. Thank you so much. Interestingly, Rayanne has a question here, Gary. Okay? At least before we end our session today, Gary, maybe we can answer this question from Rayanne. I have a question, Coach. How can you convince the negative persons, or how can you convince negative people, I should say, to think positively? They're so negative. How can one encourage them to change their thoughts?
It's interesting. I heard a statistic years ago that says out of every 100 people you meet, 80 are nice, 19 are difficult, and 1 is impossible. So it depends on where in that spectrum they fall. But I think the thing we need to realize is that ultimately in life, the only person we can control is ourselves. Now, I can't control how you think. I can't control how you react to certain situations, but I can control my own behavior. And I think that that's the best thing that we can do, is to just set a good example of how we respond to situations. And make sure that we're acting accordingly, that we're acting appropriately, that we're showing that positive attitude and approach to things. And I think, especially if you're in a situation where you have somebody who's on the negative side, but you have to spend a lot of time with them, they're an associate, you work with them every day, your attitude can rub off on them in the way you approach things. And in some cases, if you have a good relationship with the person, you can sit down with them sometimes and say, hey, I understand you're concerned about this, but have you tried looking at it this way? And maybe begin to get them to go through that mindset shift to beginning to look at things through a positive light.
Correct. And sometimes, Rayanne, it's us who can really influence them, right? Because some people nowadays, let's say, they don't believe in themselves, right? They tried a lot of things and they failed, and maybe you are the person, who can change them, but don't change them directly, but with your thoughts, with your actions, and the way you think. Because for me, Gary, right? I mean, action is just an end result of your feelings, and your feelings is most of the time triggered by how you think, right? I mean, if you think that I cannot do it, then you will feel that everything is heavy, and your action will only show that you cannot do it. But how come others can do it, right? Because it's how they think. You know what, Gary? Yeah, we will see them again. Yeah, anything to add, Gary?
Yeah, I think, it's there's an old saying that says those who say it can't be done are interrupting those who are doing it. And the one other thing I would suggest to Rayanne is to catch people doing things right and praise them for it. Give them encouragement. Say, hey, that was a great job. I really love the way you did that. Or I really learned something from this process. And that way you encourage their mind, you encourage their heart to do things differently.
Correct. All right, Gary, so that ends our session 1. Congratulations to us. I know we will be having a lot of sessions, but one thing for sure here on our Entrepreneurial LeaderShift Series. By entrepreneurial, we always say it's ownership, right? The actions you will take, will always be either to your advantage or not to your advantage, but most often that it will be to your advantage if you start with the right mindset. So next week again, Gary, another morning with you next Saturday, right? It's September already, right? September 4.
Yes.
So we are welcoming the bear months, and in the next few months is gonna be the holidays again. So don't know if you will, like if you'll believe me on that, but it's gonna be the next, 2022 is approaching, and yeah, we hope our show, our broadcast will help you start changing your mindset. So I hope you will not miss the next 7 sessions. Anything to add, Gary, before we end our show today?
Yeah, I hope that what we've done today has had an impact, and I want everybody to know that Coach Jonathan and I are here to help you with your mindset. And my prayer is that the teaching today has had an impact on everybody who's watched this. But we're here for you. Use this as a resource. Our goal is to help everyone to move forward with their lives.
Correct. So again, my dear friends, thank you so much. This is Coach Jonathan with Gary Smith, ChampYunKa. We are building leaders
and leading builders.
See you again next week. God bless you, and see you.
God bless you guys.
Last.
Why join SAM Members Acceleration Program now? Over the years, people are so active in looking for opportunities that will complement their existing income. Most people will explore a genuine business that they could own, while others will just be looking for basic supplemental income due to lack of capital and experience in many fields. In most cases, the search convenience in getting into an immediate business venture often results in some financial losses due to a lack of business logic and reliable platform. With SAM Digital Technologies, we are in digital and conventional business developments where we create, conceptualize, or partner with main conventional businesses, and using the advanced technological approach. We package all of the business information and share them amongst our community members. These would help our community members easily identify business opportunities and eventually engage them directly. Joining SAM Members Acceleration Program is all about taking advantage of the benefits and so many privileges that we offer.